The new Cities Skylines Financial District's mini expansion was just released, and though I was able to get it running on my existing cities, I decided to create a brand new city to test out the mechanics of the new DLC. So today we're going to test it out. I'm going to show you how it works, and I'm going to show you how to YOLO your way to being a multi-millionaire. And if you like these videos, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. It really helps increase the reach of the video. Without any further ado, let's jump right in. So the very first thing we need to do is reach the big town population milestone. This is when our stock exchange will unlock, which is the core part of this entire DLC. So using the power of YouTube, let's just make a quick city. And it only took us about 8 seconds and we've reached big town and we have unlocked our stock exchange. So this is the key to this whole mini expansion. This is the whole deal right here. So we are going to place this in this little neighborhood that I created. But before we do that, let me just kind of explain what I've done here. So you just have a little city. There's a lot of commercial right down the main drag, some more commercial right here, some industrial along the coast, and a little strip of commercial right here. Now, this is where we're going to place our new higher density area. And over here, I've built a 4-star oil industry. Now, this is key because this is what I want to purchase stock in. So that's one of the things that this new DLC provides, the ability to buy stock in the companies that you found. So why don't we place our stock exchange? It's found underneath unique buildings. So there's now this new financial buildings tab, and you can select your stock exchange. So let's place that right about here. And we're going to do one more thing. So this new mini expansion doesn't just come with this building, it comes with a bunch of new zonables. In fact, there's over 100 new assets, which is pretty outstanding. It's really the equivalent of match day or concerts. So to come with this many assets, it's pretty impressive. Okay, so now we have access to this new office specialization, and that is financial office buildings. Now, you don't have to do what I'm about to do, but I want to do it just to really get the flavor of everything that this DLC has to offer. So we're just going to convert Vermont Square into one of these new financial office building districts. Now, with that, I don't have a college yet, so we are going to go ahead and build just a miniature college campus, just a faculty building. So that'll be good enough to get us our office workers going. So there we go. All right, so we've got enough education. We can now build our offices. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and outline this entire area basically. And then here I'm going to transition our densities and we'll have some higher density residential. Now we're going to start to see some of our new offices over here eventually. So I'm going to let this run for just a moment while this spreads this way. We don't have any office demand just yet. Once we get some, we're going to be in a better spot. In fact, I might even start decommissioning some of this to grow our office demand. Okay, so I've really gotten rid of most of the industrial over here. The idea is that we're going to transition to have some more office type uses instead. And now we can start to see some of these new financial buildings grow in, and look at how spectacular these look. It's funny. You kind of had that Illuminati sign or whatever it is. And then just a bunch of really nice financial looking buildings. Not lots of brick, lots of masonry. So the really fascinating thing about these is that when they level up, they retain their normal base and keep adding up on top. So it's like they're selling their air rights and adding on to existing buildings. This is something you see a lot in New York City, but even in Madison, we see it, where you retain the facade of the original structure and build a new tower on top and inside. So it's very, very, very neat that this is now an option. And for me, this is absolutely a reason to consider this DLC. So this right here is the stock exchange, and it is the star of the show. So we're going to click on this and we can do a couple of things. We could either go to manage our investments, or we could take a look at our tax boost, which right now is currently 2%. So any of these financial offices, these are actually subject to a higher tax rate than is currently set within our economy tab. In fact, if you click on individual buildings, you can see the additional tax that each building is paying. Keep in mind that this boost only applies to the financial office buildings, no other building type. This can be a way to raise money without ever managing investments, but that would kind of defeat the purpose of the DLC, right? We've got to invest. What you have here is a number of things that you can invest in based on the actual economy in your city. So check out the Death Care Services Fund. It seems to be doing well, and the reason for that is that we must be at a nice equilibrium with our death care, which makes the stock price go up. Basically, we don't have too many hearses or too few hearses, as they describe in the description of this stock. Where healthcare fails, we excel. The circle of life ensures that we are never out of business. Our goals are high productivity and happy customers. So high productivity means that you don't have a bunch of empty hearses, that your hearses are mostly full. So to manage this, you might want to lower your death care budget if you have a bunch of capacity. Let's see some other ones. Very legit company, that's crime. Logistics, this is warehouses. Oil industry, I actually built the oil industry, so I'll explain what it took to get that. Generic industry, that was from all of the generic industry that was in the city. And this is doing poorly now that I dezoned all of it. And then greasy gasoline is just about the number of cars you have in your city. So the more cars, the higher the value of the stock. So I built an oil industry, and to be able to purchase any of the stock from any of your industries, you need to have 200 squares of industry buildings. So I built this little oil industry, and I have a dense number of these large pumps, a bunch of these storage tanks, and it is absolutely full. And if we take a look, we're making a pretty tidy profit here. So here's where things get interesting. I'm going to show you how to make a ton of money, just a ridiculous amount of money, using one industry. In fact, it's almost an infinite money glitch. But to make this thing work, I need to make sure that I can get my exports out of the city as quickly as possible. So I'm going to build a train station after we level up to small city. All right, small city 10,000, we have trains. So what we're going to do is just set up our train station right here. Okay, so now we have a train station. I believe it's functional, so we should be good to go. We're in a good spot now. We're making tons of money, and a big part of that is this district over here. You can see our financial services district is hopping. Look at these buildings. How cool are they? They feel very, very nice. I could see these fitting in very nicely with some of the modern city center buildings. And for vanilla buildings, wow, they are just really outstanding. But enough about that, let's talk about stocks. So the way that this all works is you have to manage your investments to get to the next level. Now, what you're supposed to do is take some educated guesses on stocks. If you think that your death care is going to be in a good place, you buy that stock and you wait it out. All of that said, when you go to buy a stock, you got to be a little bit careful. The initial share amount will be the max. So you're YOLOing, you're throwing everything on one stock like it's GameStop. That's not smart. Don't do that. Diversify. So you throw your investment, and look at this. I've already made 13,000. That's great. Now I lost 17. You might not want to have it on 3 times simulation speed. Think of what an advantage it would be to be able to slow down time and invest in stocks. You can do that here. So use that to your advantage. That said, the way this all works, $8,000 profit, I'll sell it. Now if I click on this, I have 8,400 towards the 50,000 that I need to reach level 2. Pretty great. That goes right into my coffers. Now I can go back in and manage my investment again. So you can invest whatever you want. You can dollar cost average in if you start losing a lot. So that would be you're losing a lot, buy more of the same stock to try to lower your overall cost basis for that stock. Here we are, we're losing money on this. So let's say we decide to cash in on our $18,000 loss. You figure that would wipe everything out? It doesn't. For your leveling bonus, you don't end up losing, you only take your wins. So I think it's pretty obvious if you are just guessing on stocks like this, it can be pretty daunting to level up. There are 5 levels, and leveling up is how you unlock all of the unique buildings this DLC has to offer. And the only way to level up is to make good investments. Or, Editor Phil here, and I realize you might not want to know how to exploit this. If that's the case, jump ahead to the next chapter and you'll skip past the exploit. Or we do this my way. So what we're going to do is come into our budget, and we've got our industry budget. We're going to lower that all the way down. And let's see what this does to our oil industry. Current value, $2,390 per share. Look at that. It just plummets off a cliff. Now it's worth 611, 607. That is pretty low. So I wonder what happens if we just buy this. In fact, let's YOLO it and buy as many as we can. And they only let us buy 1,000. So we still have money remaining. Now we go back and do our budget and we just crank this to the top. And look at that. We've gained $2.3 million overnight.
Yeah, boy.
So this is an infinite money glitch. That said, the reason I care about this is it allows me to skip the Wall Street Bet Simulator and get right to the fun part, unlocking buildings. So let's take a look at this. So we've got our building, we hit upgrade, $15,000, we unlock some new statues. So let's take a look at these. We get the bronze cow and the bronze panda and the small bank. And this is kind of like what you see at the New York Stock Exchange. You get the bear market and the bull market. So very cool. Like those, they are definitely on brand. But we unlock one other thing that's very important as well, and that is the bank. The small bank is for financial needs of small commercial areas. You get a small fleet of cash transport vans, so you get 4 of them. Costs a little under $200 a week in upkeep and $12,000 to buy. You'll see that this has a small radius, but for a town of our size, we could cover most of our commercial areas with one of these. I'm going to place this right here, and then let's let this run for a second and see what it does to our crime rate. So this isn't doing as much as I expected, so let's add a few more banks. But first, let me show you the new menu screen for the financial institutions. So you can see 2 things here. First of all, your bank coverage. Second of all is your stock exchange radius. So this is where you're receiving the enhanced tax revenues. So I'm going to take a bank and we will get rid of this and we'll place a bank right about here. And then we have one more over here. We'll cover this as well. So now all of our commercial properties should have bank coverage. And when we take a look at our police coverage now, our crime rate's down to 5%. You can see that it's having an effect. It's a tough one. It's, that's my main critique of this DLC generally is I don't think it's super transparent what's happening all of the time, but it is happening. All right, so we've got that. We've got banks. Let's upgrade again, $30,000. Boom. Now we get our large banks and our elevated plazas. So the large banks are just like the small banks. The main difference, so the small bank right here for vans, this is 200, a little under 200 a week. This is a little under 500 a week, but you get 10 vans. You also have increased noise pollution going from 10 to 20, but you also have those extra 2 vans that you'd expect to see. So it might be worth it for you. It just depends. We're going to add one of those along our main drag. And I want to show you something unique about these. These have 3 variations, and now you can select variations, which is really awesome. So it's not just this. There are a few different things where you can actually change variations, but it's just absolutely wonderful to have the option to do this now right in a vanilla game. Obviously with Move It, you had the opportunity to come through and reset these things. It's basically an advanced version of that. I love it. I love it. That is awesome. Now that we have this, we can select between the one that fits us the best. So let's check out our new cash transport vans. So what these are is just basically a little van that goes around and picks up cash. You can see it has a load. It's going to the different commercial buildings, picking up their cash, and then it'll bring it back to the bank. So these are going to circulate through your city, contributing to traffic. So something to be aware of. This one's going a long ways away though. I wonder how far it's going to go. Now it's full. It just passed a couple more buildings and that was all it needed to get completely filled up. All right, so now that we have that, we should take a look at our next building, which is our elevated plaza. This also comes at level 3. This is a beautiful asset. So we'll place that right here. And what this is a little elevated park. You see that there's places to sit underneath the shade. There's some flowering trees up top. Just a very pretty asset. Now keep in mind, this is a unique building, so you only can place it once. So if you're going to place this, make it something special. There you go, just something a little bit different. So now we have our lovely elevated plaza right here, and we are ready to level up to the next level, upgrade, and we get a couple more things. So we get our skyscraper bank, which is our largest bank, and our underground garden plaza. The other thing it does is look at how tall this building is getting. It absolutely dwarfs everything around it. So if you have a big city, maybe this is exactly what you want. That said, definitely looks weird here. That's okay. We'll live with it. So this is so big, I can't actually place it inside of this little square here, which I intended to do. So I'll place it in the grassy area. And what you see this is it's an underground garden. There are multiple levels to this. You can only see the top, but it is absolutely spectacular. I could see someone maybe grabbing this, facing this way, and using this as a plaza for your stock exchange. Absolutely beautiful. The other thing that we unlock is a skyscraper bank. So this costs just a little under double the cost of the large bank. Unlike the large bank, which has 3 variations, the skyscraper bank has 1. The noise pollution is 10 higher than the large bank, and you get 20 vehicles, 20 cash vans. Now this is a large asset. We'll place this one in here. You can see that it's big, but nothing compared to this. Let's upgrade this the final time, and you get the International Trade Building. So this is the final unlockable that comes with this DLC, again under the Unique Buildings tab. Now this one is interesting. You see how when we click in here, we get to see this green radius where we get to see the enhanced tax rates for financial office buildings. If we pull this over here, we can extend this area. So you really want to be careful about where you're placing this one, especially if you want to have additional tax benefits and increases. If you place this just right, you can really maximize this for yourself. So this operates in the exact same way as the stock exchange, providing that tax boost within a radius for financial offices. What that ultimately means is higher weekly incomes at the sacrifice of a bit of happiness. You can see that the areas that are subject to this tax have slightly lower happiness than the areas surrounding it. So you might be curious, we just received the Skyscrapers Content Creator Pack. How does this line up? So this Australia Triangle building is 228 meters tall. That is way bigger. The smaller variant of it, the Poly building, 119, that is a little bigger than the bank. So level 5 stock exchange, 157, 160, somewhere in that range. So it is a taller building, and it does fit in well with some of these other towers that we just received. So you could mix and match this in with our new towers. Okay, I just slapped some towers in there. Not exactly the greatest, but you can see that from a height standpoint, it's not bad compared to the rest of the towers. It fits in well. So here's another tip with this DLC. If you have already maxed out your leveling and the building doesn't quite fit in with your community, you can remove whatever stock exchange you currently have and go back to the level 1 stock exchange. You won't lose any of the buildings that you've unlocked, but you will have to start over on your progression. So this means that your tax bonus will reset, but it's something that you could do if you wanted to. So all of this is to say that once you beat this the first time, you have all your buildings unlocked, you're able to do whatever you want, and you could leave it like this. You don't have to upgrade. That is a choice. For me, I'm going to guess that 99.9% of the time, I leave it just like this. I think this is the most attractive version. You can't downgrade it, so I'll probably just leave it like this and call it a day after I unlock everything. So here are my thoughts on the DLC. The buildings are absolutely stunning. Getting 100 new growables is amazing, and these are highly detailed. For vanilla buildings, just fantastic. I love the way that these level up, and they're going to be a fixture in the downtowns that I create. So in terms of the game mechanic, it's very similar to concerts. It's something that you'll do one time, you'll buy stocks, you'll play with the economy tab, and then you might not ever do it again. And that's okay. I think you really buy this for all of the unique assets that can really add a sense of place to your downtown and help you create a financial district. But the other thing that you get with this is the map that I'm on. So this map right here is called Windblown Coast, and this is one of 5 maps that comes with this mini expansion. So that's the same as some of the full-fledged DLCs, which is pretty impressive. And these are really unique. This map has these artificial islands that look like fish, and it's desert with little patches of luscious areas, little oases. It's really a special map. That said, even if you're not buying this mini expansion, you're still getting updates. One of the things that I really like is that we're getting more diversity in the game. So now you'll see characters of all ethnicities and races, which is really awesome. You'll also see additional animals that people are walking. So now people will walk their cats. If that's something that you're interested in, here it is. It's in the base game now. And this is really something that I think Paradox and Colossal Order should be celebrated for. But I want you to remember that the DLCs help keep the lights on. And they're the reason that we keep getting updates to the base game. And reasonably, they don't have to provide an update to the base game when they release a DLC. That's just something that they do, and it's awesome, and we should celebrate them for that. So I give a huge hats off to Colossal Order and Paradox. I really appreciate that they're continuing to support the game, continuing to develop the game, continuing to make it better. This isn't something that they have to do. Speaking of making the game better, this is going to be huge for console players. You have LUTs now. So if you hop into options and you go to graphics, you now have color corrections that you can use natively, which is really neat. For me, this is probably one of them that I like more than others, but I am going to stick with the one I usually stick with, which is the Reaper Real Blue. It's the Verde Beach one. I just love it. It's absolutely beautiful. But on a console, to be able to change this now, to have different LUTs and lighting settings, absolutely wonderful. You can customize your game and get the feel you want for your community. So I think for being a mini DLC, yeah, it's worth it. This is the equivalent of Match Day or concerts. It's not super deep, but it has a lot more content than some of those other ones. Similar to those, you're going to play through the mechanic, you're going to unlock some things, and then it's going to probably be a monument in your city that you just don't really do much with, but you're going to put it in every single city that you have. You'll be excited to build your financial district and add in some of your financial buildings. I think there's a lot that you can do with this to make an interesting city. So I think it's worth the money. That said, there are limitations. Obviously, I was able to cheese it pretty easily. So just keep that in mind. So with that, I think we're going to leave it here. And I hope that you've enjoyed this one. If you did, please hit the like button. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Bye-bye.